Hi everyone, this is Jane here. Oh, no, let's just adjust this camera a little bit. I wanted to do a little presentation for you today about the ABC of singing, just to give you a little update and stuff that I've been up to. I'm kind of cozied up in my living room, and I'm in the northeast of Scotland. It's pretty cold right now, so forgive me if I've got my squirrel jumper and I've got a tartan fleecy blanket thing on. I'm totally feeling the cold today. But I wanted to go over a presentation about the ABC of singing, and for people that maybe went through it and you maybe be feeling a bit doubtful about what to do if you're singing, or even if you feel like you should pursue it or anything. So yeah, let's kind of go through this. I want to share my screen with you. So okay, here we go. Let's share my screen. I want to do this wee presentation, and voila! It's loading something. I can't, oh, I don't know if I've, oh, let me go back to the beginning. Oopsie. Presentation. Just to pretend that little bit like it didn't happen, you know. Such as the thing is like getting used to using all these newfangled things, you know what I mean? It takes a wee bit of getting used to. In fact, what I'll do as well as options, I'm sure there's a thing on here where you can do captions. Is that it? I think it was that captions. Let's see if we can turn on captions and see if that will work. Well, that seems to be working okay. That's great. Technology, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful? Okay, so I wanted to go over a little bit about some thoughts that I had about the ABC of singing, to give you a little kind of roundup about, you know, what it's all about. I appreciate some of you might have already done my mini course, but that doesn't necessarily say that you might not already still have some niggling doubts about where is your place in the world when it comes to music, when it comes to singing. And I wanted to try and help people like alleviate any kind of doubts that you might have. And this presentation is actually based on some research that I did a little while ago, and to me it was actually really surprising. So let's just kind of show you what's happening, you know. And for people who don't know much about me, hi folks, my name's Jane Carmichael Norrie. I'm a Scottish lady. I'm a sing. Well, for the last 9 years, I've been a choir master and singing teacher. Um, what I like to describe myself as when I'm singing is a sassy wee Scottish lassie. But that's kind of why I wanted to do this presentation for you, because I want that for you. I really truly do. It breaks my heart to think of somebody that might really love singing and is desperate to do more of it, but there's something holding them back, and that's kind of why I want to do this. I love my coffee and my gin, so you know I'm not going to be mad if anyone sends me any coffee or any gin. I have my little lovely cat called Chico, and he's totally my little baby. I'm like crazy cat lady. I don't have any children that are human. My child has fur, and for some weird reason, I got like grey hair. I started getting grey hair when I was pretty young, like when I was 25, 26 or something. And I couldn't be bothered dyeing it anymore because even when I spent a fortune, like upwards of £100 to go to the hairdressers to get it done really nice, and you know, it wasn't just me trying to dye my hair on my own in the bathtub or something. Even when I spent a fortune on it, my hair still ended up feeling really dry and like straw, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna, you know, become accustomed to being grey, and that's it. So so that's me pretty much. Yeah. I want to ask you, like, what stage are you at in your singing? If you're looking at the ABC of singing, chances are you may be at the beginning, but it's also pretty good for people that might just want a little bit of a refresher. Like a lot of people, especially when I've been doing private lessons, I've experienced people that have come to my city, but maybe they haven't been in the kind of singing community, haven't been involved in it for a long time, because they might have been quite involved in music at school, and then maybe they moved to a new city for their course, like university, or they took up a different career. And you know, sometimes when you're really busy with your career, the hobbies you enjoy can end up sliding a bit when it, you know, when you want to impress your boss and everything. It just takes up more and more of your time. And that's what I found is a lot of people are like that when life kind of circumstances change. It's one of the first things that people like let go of is a hobby or something that they really, really enjoy and gives them a lot of happiness. And it's one of the things that when people can become like a later stage in their life, is one of the things that people are most likely to regret dropping as well. Um, so I wanted to tell you a little bit of information about this research that I did. It was amongst people in my choirs, people that came to me for lessons and stuff. I really wanted to just kind of say, work out a kind of, this is where we're at, you know, to, I wanted to do some research because I wanted to improve as a teacher, but I also wanted to understand where people were coming from when they first came for lessons. And this is why I found these statistics really interesting from the research. Admittedly, it's about roughly 130 people I interviewed. 20% of them had always wanted to try a lesson, but they'd never actually been to one. So I have people on my email lists, and this is where this information came from. There's people that are keen to learn about singing and maybe find out a wee bit more about it and stuff, but they're still quite emotionally a long way from actually stepping into a studio. And honestly, I found that really, really surprising. When I first learned of this, that I never quite realised that there would be people on my email list that would be interested, but had never taken that leap. And I think it's one of these things that I kind of almost forgot about it, you know, because I'd been involved with music for a long time. You forget where you first started, you know. But I don't necessarily forget exactly why I started. I started because I fancied my music teacher. That's exactly why I got into music, and it stuck. But I don't really remember, like, say for instance, my very first singing lesson. Though I can imagine I must have been super, super nervous about going. I'm sure I probably put it off for a bit because I used to be so nervous when it came to singing. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, my whole body would shake my nerves, and I'd be like this, like totally tremors the whole time, and I couldn't control that. And it was for years, and it took me years to kind of eventually, you know, get to the point where, yeah, I feel nervous when I'm performing, and because you care about it, you want to do well, but not letting nerves come through in a way that dampens your ability to do a good job. Because when you're shaking like that, you can't really think about anything else. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so that was one part. Then another bit was that I found out 20% of people had been to lessons a long time ago and they're keen to return. You know what I was saying before about, like, from my own personal experience as a teacher, there's been a lot of people that have come along and, you know, they've had circumstances where they maybe changed city or something like that, or maybe changed career. You know, they were involved in music at school, but when you go to uni and you study something different, and, you know, studying is exhausting, you know. And even, like, I found myself with, like, when I've had a lot of work to do, sometimes hobbies almost feel like a chore sometimes. I mean, when you feel really, like, mentally exhausted, you don't really want to do anything, you know. There's been lots of nights where I've, like, been exhausted and I've just sat and binge watched something. But I would say for people that are maybe in that situation right now, I would, like, invite you to consider that in the long term, you might regret letting go of your hobbies. You know, fair enough, you know yourself better than I do, and that you might be better for you if you, like, reduce your commitments a little bit. So instead of doing something 2-3 times a week, it could be once a week, it could be once every 2 weeks, once a month or something. But if it's something you've done for a long time and you just do it for the sheer enjoyment of it, I think it's good to have a little tiny bit of it, because a little teeny bit of it is better than nothing. And from the people that are older in, you know, my private lessons, people that have come to me, it's one of those stories that I've heard over and over again, is that, you know, people that are in their 50s and their 60s, they've got a considerable, like, successful career in something other than music, but they've always regretted that they let music slide and they got out of the habit of it, or they stopped singing for a while and you know, the career became important, or, you know, babies became important, and you feel like you've got no time for yourself. And even when you do have time for yourself, you're exhausted. And I totally get that feeling. But I would encourage you to try and do a teeny bit if you can. Another bit of research that I had, oh, let's go down the other way, there we go. Oh, for this one, it was more people that were surveyed, 417 people. But a huge majority of them were starting or refreshing their singing. So this is the same kind of pattern over and over again, that most people had already begun, which is great, and maybe making some, you know, tenuous steps towards getting towards what they're wanting to do and feeling more confident in their voice, and that's fabulous. Or they've maybe done that thing where I just said about had a break for years and years and totally want to get into it again. And it's one of these situations where people feel like almost a little bit embarrassed, you know, they're kicking themselves a bit that they've left it that long to go back to something they enjoy. And I think as well, when you get to a point, say when you're younger and that you've had a hobby for a long time, you know, and it's the accumulation of skill that you experience over that period. And it can be really frustrating and demotivating if you've had a break of a few years and then you go back and you feel like you're a total beginner again. I can't tell you how like frustrated and annoyed you can be, annoyed with yourself and a bit embarrassed, because nobody wants to be a beginner, you know. And that's fair enough. Nobody wants to be a beginner in anything, because being a beginner means that you have that awkwardness if you're aspiring to a certain level of skill and there's a gap between where you're at and the skill that you want to achieve, and it can seem like such a huge way off sometimes. And that's kind of where I come in the assessing when this is a skill you want and this is where you're at, and basically making the little tiny steps to get from one to the other, you know. And I think that's a huge reason why a lot of people don't continue with, you know, their aspiration to get better in that skill and to say get better in music in general, or to get better in singing. Because, well, you've got a few hurdles to overcome, don't you? You've got that first one of like feeling like a total numpty because you haven't done that thing for a couple of years. Your skills actually went down. You feel like you're a total beginner again. That's frustrating and it's embarrassing. And a lot of people, when they get to that point, they realize that their skills have diminished because they haven't done it for a while. A lot of people just don't even bother starting again because it is that frustrating, you know. But then once you start again, you got the other hurdle of like, okay, I want to get to this skill. It seems like so like way up there in the pedestal. It feels totally crazy. Like, how am I even gonna ever be able to do that? You know? And you know, I don't want to get into the whole thing of like, you know, totally peddling my wares or anything. But what I would say is that sometimes it's really good to have not necessarily a teacher. A teacher is not the only option. Like a peer, a mentor, somebody is totally on the same journey as you, like a fellow beginner, and you can just totally coach each other. You need somebody to think about, help you with thinking about what are the next steps that you need to do, but also holding you accountable. That, yeah, sometimes the journey is difficult and you'll have good days and bad days. You know, when you've got a really busy day with your career or whatever and you feel exhausted, sometimes it's the last thing that you want to do is to keep on top of that skill of doing a half an hour here or there or whatever. And you'll think, man, it doesn't really matter if I skip it this day. But if you've got someone that you are accountable to, it really helps a lot to help you maintain the focus on your long-term goal. Honestly, it doesn't even need to be someone that necessarily skilled in that thing. You just check in with them. You decide that, say for instance, if you wanted to do 10 minutes of a warm-up and an exercise every weekday, you know, that seems kind of all right and achievable and everything. It could be your partner, it could be your work colleague, it could be your boss, or anyone in your life that you trust that will keep you accountable. Like, have you done your 10 minutes today? Make your lunch break a little bit shorter, and you can get that wee 10 minutes in at that time. Yeah. And it really helps a lot. It might be a real pain in the bum in the short term, but it really helps a lot with achieving goals in the long term. So let's go into the next one. I've asked a lot of people what is their biggest frustration with trying to learn to sing. This is really, really surprising to me. 80% of people don't feel confident in their own potential and their ability to be able to improve. That's why I was saying about like creating these little steps towards your goal and knowing how it all fits in and how you can achieve one wee bit at a time is so crucial, because it's really, really difficult sometimes for people to have faith in their own ability to achieve that goal. And I think one of the reasons, like from my own experience, one of the reasons why I've given up on a goal before is because, exactly for that reason, because it seems completely unattainable. Like, I'm so far away from that goal there that I just think there's just no chance. There's no chance at all, you know? So what's the point in even beginning, you know? I think for this thing about not feeling confident in their potential, I think part of that problem is something that I've experienced in the past is perfectionism. And I think I've got a bit better about my own perfectionism and the problems that it creates. And no, don't get me wrong, it's good to aspire to making things better. If you can, like total, like little incremental improvements can work wonders towards improving any skill. But I think when you put too much pressure on yourself for things to be perfect, it's the whole overwhelming feeling of paralysis that I've experienced can stop you in your tracks from beginning to even try to do it. Because, well, you know, as a beginner, well, it's not going to be perfect because I'm not an expert in the thing that I'm doing. So what's the point? It's that whole thing about, you know, you have to be skilled now. You have to be an instant expert now. And I've put myself through that pressure before, this mindset of it's not perfect, so what's the point? And it totally kills anything. It kills people's aspirations. It kills people's dreams. It kills people's ability to even try. That's why I think you're feeling you're not confident in your potential, I want you to ask yourself, do you think that maybe your perfectionism is getting in the way? Because I know that it's definitely stopped me before. One of the examples that I can think of about how the perfectionism has stopped me was when I wanted to become better at Italian, when I was learning opera songs, because a lot of the stuff that I was learning was in Italian, and I was trying to learn it just by like how to pronounce the words, but I didn't know what I was saying. And I thought that's going to come across, you know, if a native Italian speaker listen to me sing, they're going to know instinctively that I don't know what the words mean. You can't really quite convey the words accurately if you don't know what they mean. And I was going as a complete beginner into Italian, so that seemed like such a big unachievable goal. Like, how am I going to be able to learn Italian? That's like ridiculous. It's like a whole new language that I don't know any other languages apart from my native tongue, which is English. How am I supposed to learn how to do another language? If I was going to learn one, I should have done it when I was younger or something, when arguably it's easier to learn languages when your brain's a bit more, you know, soft and squishy when you're younger, when you're like a wee child or something, if you're brought up bilingual or something. You know, who am I to think that I can acquire a whole new language when I'm in my 30s? Don't even know if I had absolutely like no faith at all in my ability to learn that kind of skill. But over time, I realized that it was holding me back. I thought my songs, my Italian, my arias that I was learning will sound so much more better if I'm not constantly at the back of my mind worried about how I pronounce things. Because once you've got it under your belt, it's like any other kind of thing. You get a better idea of knowing how to pronounce things, even if it's a brand new word to you. You know, say if in Italian, you've got the most important ones that you core, like heart, or amore is love and all that kind of thing. And any aria's probably got something about them in the word somewhere. But once you've got the basic principles of knowing how to pronounce most Italian words or the main verbs and stuff, then you can take a pretty good educated guess at how to pronounce the other ones. So I could probably do some basic conversational Italian right now. By no means am I good at, say, like having a proper like conversation with Italian. I could maybe say hello and how are you and all that kind of stuff. The things that I concentrated on was the ones that are the words and the verbs and things that were most relevant to the songs that I was studying. And that's how I managed to get through it. It was, you know, saying creating little steps. Okay, I don't need to learn the entire Italian language. Let's think about the ones that happen all the time in Italian opera. So you're talking about your heart, you're talking about love, you're talking about people being angry, or, you know, I'm going to go here, I'm going to walk there, I'm going to kill this person, all that kind of stuff, you know, the drama of it all. And it's all usually about people talking about what they're going to do. And that's how I kind of managed to overcome my perfectionism, because it started with that whole thing, feeling really overwhelmed, a whole thing of like Italian, oh my God. But if you can dissect it into tiny bits, it really helps you to kind of build up. And it's one of these things that once you start, it helps you to become more motivated. It's like, okay, well, I've done a little tiny bit. Well, that's better than what I did yesterday. So now I can just build it up a little bit at a time. I think that's a funny thing about perfectionists. If there's any perfectionists out there, I think that you'd probably agree with me on this point, and that we put so much pressure on ourselves to be good at something, but we would never do that to people that we care about. You know, if your best friend came along and said they wanted to learn an aria and they wanted to learn some Italian, they'd be like, oh yeah, cool, you'd want to help them, and you would show them how to help them while doing these little steps. Do a little bit at a time, and don't worry, don't put pressure on yourself. Don't feel like you have to be an expert overnight, because that's just unrealistic. And that's the funny thing about perfectionism. We would never dream of putting pressure onto people that we put onto ourselves. We wouldn't do that. We'd just never entertain it. But for some reason, we've got a kind of double standard when it comes to what we expect from ourselves compared to what we expect for other people. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, when you're trying to learn something new, or you're trying to improve something, you need a degree of patience. You need to give yourself patience, give yourself some faith in your own ability. And although it says here that a lot of people don't feel confident in their potential, I think a big reason why is perfectionism getting in their way. But knowing how to overcome that is the key. Being aware that you're putting yourself under more pressure than you would expect, or higher standards that you would expect, compared to, say, if it was somebody you cared about, you know. I remember when I was thinking about changing mindsets a wee while ago, I thought to myself about, you should speak to yourself like you would, like your grandma would, you know. Don't say anything to yourself like in your head, or, you know, don't say anything to yourself that your granny wouldn't say. So don't give yourself insults. Don't give yourself unrealistic standards of attainment. Don't put pressure on yourself. Like, what would your grandma do? She'd be super kind and nice and supportive, and she would be like, you know, it's great you want to learn something, just do a wee bit at a time. Doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Mistakes is part of the learning process. It's that you need to be your own grandma when you're going through this process. Does that make any sense? It totally makes sense to me, but you know, and that's the way that I think about it. Is that you need to have that, like, be the calming voice that you need to keep yourself motivated, to keep going, even if it's just a tiny incremental little bit every day is better than nothing, you know. That's another thing that people felt frustrated with. They're worried about looking and feeling silly. And you know what, I totally get that as well, because and maybe because I'm an introvert, there's something about it that it's kind of weird for me. And I don't know, is there something weird about introverts wanting to perform? But maybe not necessarily, because there's lots of introverts that actually are very well known famous musicians, such as Beyonce. You could probably argue that Dave Bowie was a bit of an introvert as well, actually. So there's world famous musicians that are introverts and they're all over the place, you know. But I can understand how it can feel a bit weird because it's the attention of it all, and that can be quite demotivating. I've experienced that myself, actually. Like, you know, when people do the Christmas carols and stuff, and I have quite a relatively high voice, so you've got the higher parts, you know, they call the descants, that people do like higher harmonies and stuff. And I can hit relatively high notes, so I'll be like, okay, I'll do some of the descants and stuff. And I like doing them because, well, I enjoy the music. I think it's lovely. And I like it when the choir all sounds nice and well balanced and stuff. I never do it to bring attention to myself. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I become a bit put off about doing it. Because some, like, at the end of it, people will say to me like, "Oh, June, well done." Although they look at me because I can sing a high note, and I'm like, cringe, I want to hide away. I'm not motivated by attention. I never have been. In fact, I think it's like I say, something that actually genuinely puts me off doing stuff sometimes. I don't want attention. I'm not motivated by attention. I'm motivated by helping people, and for like some kind of like modest recognition of a job well done. But to me, that's not attention. That's like, you know, somebody sending a note or an email or something, or just a wee nod or something. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? When you just get respect and recognition from your peers or something, and you get some positive feedback. But I'm one of those kind of people that want to serve the music because I think the music is amazing. It's not about drawing attention to myself. So I can totally understand this worriedness people might have about looking or feeling silly. That's one part of it. They might have a more like introverted personality that you genuinely feel put off about being the center of attention, and I totally get that. Another part of it could be where like it feels so different to you, because it's something new. It can feel really unnatural, and you feel so self-conscious about it when you're first doing it. So if you're at that kind of point, say for instance, if you've done the ABC of singing already, I would recommend to you to do something really, really chilled out as your first kind of foray into doing some kind of performance. You know what? It's something that I actually thought about the other day, and that was like, bring back like nights where people did party pieces. That's not even something that I have done. Maybe vaguely remember doing it when I was really young with my parents and stuff. Did you ever get that in your families where people just have gatherings and stuff, but there'd be no entertainment on, there'd be no music, no TV or anything, and the entertainment was everyone that was in the party would contribute something, their party piece to the night. So it could be singing a song or telling a joke, or I don't know, what do other people do? Recite poetry, or I don't know, do a dance, whatever. And if it was me, if I was trying to find some like really chilled out, low pressure performance experience, that's what I would do. I would actually be texting my chums or friends and my family, like, let's just have a get together in the house and we all just bring something as a party piece to this wee party. You've all probably got a joke you can tell, or you've got a song that you can sing. So then you can do something really informally, just have a couple of drinks, have a laugh, and then you've got your first kind of informal performance under your belt. So maybe next time, if you feel like it went well, you could go do something like karaoke. You know, a lot of people look down their nose at karaoke. I think it's great. It's so good for people to just have a go and see if they enjoy it. see if they get some nice feedback from their friends or family, like, some encouragement. And if you really enjoy it, go back, just do it again and again and again. Then when you get to that point where you've done karaoke a few times, then it doesn't seem that much of a stretch to do it, like do something similar, say in an open mic night or something. You could do it like with a bunch of friends, or like one of your chums is doing an accompaniment for you or something. Then you're totally on the road, like when you do open mic nights, then it doesn't feel that much of a stretch to do your first gig. Do a support gig for a touring band that's coming to your town, and you could do that within the stretch of 5-6 months or something, up to a year or something like that. That you're just doing it a wee bit at a time. And that's totally what I want for you guys when you're singing, is that when you sing well, you almost just don't worry about it. That's advice that I got when I went to opera. It was like an intensive weekend of training at the National Opera Studio. That was a few years ago now, but I always remember that was the best advice I got from the lady who was the director. I can't remember her name, but she said to me that any time that she sang, it didn't feel like she was actually singing. It was more like she was concentrating on what she was saying. It felt like speaking to her. And I think that's very telling, in that when you're singing well, you're not worried about, oh no, that high note's coming up, or that low note's coming up, and you get all anxious about it. When you've got something that's within your vocal range, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. That's great. I mean, you've done all the homework when you got to that point, when you got to the point where you're doing a performance. So have more faith in yourself that you can deliver, because you put the work in already. You've rehearsed it dozens of times at that point, and you know the song inside out, so it should feel comfortable for you. I actually fell into the trap a wee while ago of, like, when I had an audition, I would always try and learn a new song for the audition. That's actually, like, when I think back on it now, I think that's actually proper crazy, because I was sabotaging myself. Songs have to be, like, we get to the point where you use them at an audition, you have to have, like, sung them, like, you almost got to the point where you feel sick of them. That's just you've sung them that much, they're so comfortable to you, that actually I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just get this old favorite out, and always pick ones that you're really, really familiar with. What I was doing is just ridiculous, like putting myself under the pressure. Like, auditioning isn't stressful enough, just adding more stress, which is just like, what, Jim, what are you doing? It's kind of like seriously though, what are you doing? Can't believe that I actually did that. But I mean, that's a process, I guess, that you live and learn in that, eh? So people, if you're feeling a bit worried or feeling a bit silly, like, please get in touch with me if you think you want any more advice about this. That there's ways and means to just expose yourself a little bit to doing something outside the norm, gaining some more performance experience, so it doesn't feel quite as weird for you. But it's totally not the feeling of, like, okay, I'm just going to rock up and perform at Wembley, and it's a little tiny bit, just one wee bit at a time. That's why I say karaoke is great, because it really helps people sometimes get over that hurdle of feeling like, oh, there's no point because I just feel super weird. Having that support of, like, just going and doing it for a laugh and stuff. It's not a serious performance. It's you just having some fun with some friends. But it's a great way for you to become accustomed to the whole situation of performing. And that's the other thing I wanted to ask: how can we help? Is there people out there that maybe we haven't covered something that you've been struggling with? I want to kind of go into a little bit about how the ABC of singing goes into how we can help things. When I asked people what they wanted in terms of help, 30% of people said that they wanted some videos or webinars or online help. And I think I totally get that, because I was saying about people's lives are busy right now. It's good if you've got some resources where you can pick them up whenever you have some time. If you turned out there's some kind of cancellation and you've got an hour spare, well, that's great. We can go through a video or do a webinar or something, you know. And that's what I've started doing in the last couple of years, responding to this feedback that videos would be really helpful. And this is what I mean about like having a new approach. I'm not the kind of teacher that's going to reprimand people for, you know, not wanting to learn opera or not knowing how to play the piano, because well, I can play a little bit, I'm not great at it, but like a lot of people, some teachers are like very stuck in their old kind of ways of teaching, whereas I think there's a lot of potential to help a lot of people if we kind of broaden it a little bit. And that's what I say by meet people where they're at. You know, you could be a parent that's kind of stuck in the house a wee bit because you have young children, you know, like you don't have, or you know, don't maybe necessarily have the time or maybe the money or the inclination, frankly, to cover like a babysitter for 2 hours, to drive across town to go for a singing lesson when you're already feeling kind of tired. But you know, save that commute, save that money on a babysitter, stay in your house. You're still looking after your kids because they went off to sleep. You're still in your house, but you can consult a video, do it at your own pace. One of your kiddies wakes up, then it doesn't matter because you can pause the video and you just go back to it when you're ready to do it again. Do you know what I mean? I like that flexibility. I think a lot of people like appreciate that they can do it at their own pace and everything. And I think new technology is brilliant. It's brilliant how much people can learn, or they have the potential to learn with these kind of things. But it totally takes a bit of getting used to, like as a teacher, just knowing what the capabilities are and what you can do, what you can't do. I wouldn't say like for stuff like this, like online learning is a great support for certain things, but there's things that you can't do, like if, say for instance oh, excuse me, say for instance I wanted to help somebody with their breathing or something. It's a lot easier for me to ask a pupil if I can put my hands on their rib cage, and or for them to put their hands on my rib cage so they can feel the expansion of the ribs as I'm breathing. Well, you can't do that online. You know, it's the more tactile things, well, they're obviously very, very difficult or virtually impossible to do online. So it's somewhat limiting in that sense. But having, you know, that's like one kind of disadvantage, but having the advantage of the flexibility for people, being able to reach people that necessarily like they might not been able to meet with you or to learn from you under any other circumstances, maybe because they're in a different country or something. That, to me, that's really exciting. So yeah, that's how we've been doing this and delivering it. Free online intro courses like, you know, the ABC of singing, free live trainings and Q&As as well. And that's where I've set my little kind of Facebook page and stuff. So please feel free, guys, to like Google me or to join my group if you'd like to find out more. That's another thing that people asked for, was like 12.5% asked for pre-studio advice. We kind of went over this a little bit as well, just that whole thing about not feeling confident enough to even meet with a teacher and anything yet. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do these mini courses, to help people that don't feel like they're ready enough or confident enough to meet a teacher face to face. Doing something like this is, I think, a wee bit more chill, a wee bit more at your own pace. Stay somewhere where you feel super comfy. You know, I'm sitting here on my fluffy blanket on, you know, got a cup of tea beside me and my cat's round the corner. I can imagine if you're feeling nervous already about learning a new skill, makes it easier to digest the new learning information of the new concepts. If you're somewhere that's familiar, like you're sitting comfy in your home, and that can help a lot with just having a familiar environment can help a lot to like you don't feel worried about it. For me, being an introvert, I can totally understand how it's too much going to a brand new place, meeting a brand new person, learning brand new things, maybe going to a new part of town, and there's too many new things happening. It's too much, you know. So if there's something that we like I like doing things online, and that's because I think it actually helps people that are introverted like me, because it helps eliminate some of the things that are overwhelming. Stay in your home and learn. Well, that's great, because then there's less new things happen, isn't there? And this is what the aims that we have for the course, about being approachable. And I love the fact that it's available wherever, and for the introverts as well, about it being at your place and also at your pace, whatever circumstances you find. Isn't it great that you can have a lesson, at 5 in the morning, and it doesn't matter, 3 in the morning, whatever, it doesn't matter. The videos are sitting there waiting for you whenever you're awake and whenever you have time. Or if you suddenly have a cancellation and you want to just fill in the time with a wee bit of learning, it's very agile that way as well. And this is the thing about the ABC of singing in particular. We concentrate on the things that are guaranteed to affect your singing the most. So I mentioned in some of the blurb things that A is like the alignment. The alignment of your body is incredibly important. And if you don't address that at the beginning of your learning, it can lead to points where you end up plateauing. You get to a certain level of skill and you can't improve because you haven't addressed the problems or potential problems at the beginning. And it's kind of the same thing with breathing as well. If there's one thing that's guaranteed to affect how you're going to perform at your best, it's your breathing. If you don't feel safe and secure and skilled in your breathing, it's totally going to come through in the way that you sing, because you're always at the back of your mind like, oh no, I'm not sure about this bit, or I don't know if I have enough, fuel in the tank, and you might start kind of worrying. It's the whole like domino effect. You start worrying, start getting anxious, you start becoming tense because you're worried about it, and then suddenly your shoulders are up around your ears, and it's helping to try and kind of avoid all of that. And that was what I mentioned before, avoiding this improvement plateau where you try hard and like get to a certain level and you can't improve anymore, and that's super frustrating. I've been through that myself, and it can take a while to undo some of the things that you've learned if you fall into that trap. So that's what I wanted to ask with my little presentation, everyone, is like, what can we improve? How could I improve? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So if I just stop my share just now, go back to my normal screen. Hey. Oh, my hair's a bit of a mess. Never mind. Thank you so much for your time today, guys. I'm going to like keep this recorded on. I'll put it on like YouTube or something so that people can have a look at it at their own time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on things that we could do to improve. Like I say, I've actually got a week off this week, but I don't have any plans, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to just kind of go back and look at the online courses and stuff and think about ways that I can make them better. If you have any ideas at all, it'd be amazing to hear from you. But thanks so much, guys. Have a great evening. I'll see you later. Bye.